How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's right, the third film in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise has finally came out. Once again, directed by James Gunn and stars Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillian, and many others, as well as coming off of being in James Gunn's Peacemaker, Chukwudi Iwuji, sorry if I mispronounced that name, who plays the High Evolutionary. And in this film, the Guardians need to protect Rocket Raccoon from the High Evolutionary, who wants to take Rocket Raccoon back. We also have Adam Warlock introduced in this film, played by Will Poulter. And this is a film that explores the origins of Rocket Raccoon, how he was created, what his past was like before he met Groot, before he met Star Lord, Gamora, and the others. And this is also a movie that took a while to come out. I remember even before COVID, this movie was supposed to come out back in the early days of Phase 4. It was supposed to, actually, I think this was supposed to be the first or one of the first films of Phase 4. It was supposed to come out in 2020. But back in 2018, due to controversial tweets from James Gunn's past being brought up, Disney fired James Gunn. And due to the push of the cast and Kevin Feige, James Gunn got rehired. So it's been a very interesting road to get to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But we finally got it. And what did I think about this film? Going into this film, I was very excited. I love the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies. At the same time, there was that concern because it feels like Marvel hasn't really delivered a great movie in some time. While I have enjoyed some of the projects from Phase 4, it feels like we haven't really gotten that unique project that we were getting back in like the first three phases of the MCU. It feels like since Spider-Man No Way Home, we've gotten some good projects, but nothing that was a game changer for the MCU. And there are even a few that just looking back weren't all that good. And I'll be honest, there were some where when I first saw them, I thought they were okay. I thought they were fine. But then rewatching and looking back, some of them could have been a lot better. More recently, Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumanium. And I also noticed that some of these projects, not just Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumanium, but Thor Love and Thunder, try to replicate what James Gunn did with the Guardians of the Galaxy. A fun space adventure that has a lot of humor, that has a lot of color. However, they kind of miss the other important things of James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And it is reminded in this film that while the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are a lot of fun, they got a lot of humor, and they're very colorful, they also have great character moments. They've got great emotional moments. They got great villains that have great motivations, that don't have any sympathy towards them. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 reminds us why we love these movies. Because this is pure James Gunn and he hits everything well. This is a great MCU movie, a great movie in general. One of the best post Avengers Endgame. And it's a reminder that James Gunn's going to be missed from Marvel. But yeah, the characters, you see how far these characters have come since the first time they appeared, whether it was the first Guardians of the Galaxy film or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in the case of Mantis. You see how far these characters have gone. You've seen Star-Lord come a long way. Chris Pratt gives some of the best acting that I've seen him give. Um, Dave Bautista as Drax, a huge upgrade from the second film. I like Drax in the second film, but he was like more for humor. But in this film, yeah, he is key to a lot of that humor, but he's got moments where you see like his other strengths. He's not just Drax the Destroyer. You see his other strengths. You're reminded that before he was Drax the Destroyer, he was once a father. He once had a family, and he showcases those skills in key moments in this film. Nebula still, while she's still short-tempered and the most serious member of the team, you also see that she's got more of a moral compass in this film. film, the same moral compass that Gamora had in the first two films. Now, as far as Gamora goes in this film, obviously, if you've seen Avengers Endgame and also Avengers Infinity War, you're reminded that Gamora died, and the Gamora that's now in the MCU is from 2014, right before the Guardians of the Galaxy form. So she has no, so she doesn't have that history that with Star Lord, with Peter Quill, Drax, Rocket, Groot. She never really got to be a sister with Nebula that she became in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and before the events of Avengers Infinity War. But yet Zoe Saldana still portrays this version of Gamora that's in this new world that's not the Gamora they once knew very well. Rocket, exploring Rocket's backstory, I really much enjoyed that because it feels like there's always been like a reason why it was never brought up. Like there were hints of it in the previous films, but now you see why he never wanted to talk about it, why like he's short-tempered, and you see his past and the High Evolutionary. This guy is a really, really sick person, and as the audience, we hate him. But the actor does such a phenomenal job portraying him. I'm glad that we got a villain that is a villain that is sick and twisted that has no sympathy towards him. And there's one thing that James Gunn has nailed in each of his Guardians of the Galaxy films. These villains, they're not sympathetic villains. They are villains that they do things that cause us to hate them. And one thing I will give a warning with this film are there are depictions of animal cruelty, and there might be some scenes that might be hard for some people to watch. This is definitely one of the darkest MCU movies, and I know everyone defines dark differently, but some of the scenes in here are hard to watch. And seeing what Rocket has been through, because there are flashback sequences, is very tough to see. Groot's still awesome as always. He's Mantis. You also see Mantis go through her own character development. That's the thing I love about this film. Even though it's directed, like obviously Rocket's the main focal point of this film, protecting Rocket, saving Rocket. Each character still has their moments. They go through their own stories, and by the time this film is over, you feel like where these characters land are gonna land up being. It feels satisfying. And yes, you do have also secondary Guardians members like Cosmo the dog and Kraglin, and they're pretty cool as well. They're not in it as much as like the marketing would suggest because they're in the posters. I actually have a poster right here. My theater was giving out posters to people who saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But what they were given was still very good. If there's one thing I wish they could have changed as far as the characters go, is Adam Warlock. Will Poulter did a very good job portraying this character, and when he's shown, it's very cool. The action's very cool. I just wish they could have done more with the character, and I get it. They set up this character in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in the one of the mid-credit scenes, but I wish there could have been more to do. But at the same time, what he was given, I thought was fine for an introduction. And I am curious to see what direction they do go with Adam Warlock in the MCU going forward because I have a feeling this is a character that's going to be appearing more than just this film. Hopefully the MCU doesn't waste a great character like Adam Warlock. He's a very good character in the comics. It is a reminder though that you wish he was introduced before Infinity War. If you read the comics, you know that he was very important in that story arc when Thanos did wipe out half of humanity and taking down Thanos. But yeah, I think like hopefully like they utilize Adam Warlock in the MCU more. As far as what they do with him, I'm not sure. I mean, there are hints to it, obviously. As far as the post-credit scenes go, they feel more like epilogues than setups. I will say that, which I think is fitting, and they're very enjoyable. I love the soundtrack that was used in this film. I love James Gunn's song choices. The special effects work is definitely the best in a while for the MCU. There's been some issues with the VFX, with the special effects, that they've been rushing stuff and set they're having incomplete special effects work in the MCU film, so I'm glad that it looks great in this film. Very colorful. For a movie that, while it has a lot of humor, is also very emotional and very dark. Now, while I do consider this to be one of the best MCU films we've gotten since Endgame, one of the best MCU films overall, does this do anything to move the needle for the MCU because it has been on decline? I will say that this film made me more excited for the future of DC than Marvel because of James Gunn. Because we gotta remember, James Gunn is now one of the presidents of DC Films. He's writing and directing Superman Legacy, which is supposed to come out in a couple years. As long as the writer strike doesn't affect that, I don't know what's gonna happen with that and how long this writer strike is gonna be. But yeah, this makes me more confident in DC than Marvel because this is the last time James Gunn's going to be directing a Marvel film. And while there's still some Marvel projects I am excited for, not just movies but shows like Daredevil Born Again, Deadpool 3, any Avengers movies, any future Spider Man movies with Tom Holland, there's some that I'm very skeptical of and nervous about. Like, I'm still going to check them out. I still love watching MCU films, but it feels like this might be the last great MCU movie we could get for a while. And again, the writer strike might play a role in that because that could affect the writing of future Marvel movies and shows. But for a lot of people that say this is like the end of the MCU for them, I understand where they're coming from because it does feel like the end of a certain part of the MCU. It's the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And this is a Marvel movie that brings me back to that pre Avengers Endgame era. But yeah, I loved I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I thought the cast was great, the direction that the characters have gone, seeing the journey that they've been on from the first Guardians film to now. It's been a phenomenal 9 years with these characters. It's hard to believe that one of the best MCU franchises is based on characters that are kind of unknown, but now they become household names because of James Gunn, because of the way the actors portray these characters, because of the stories, the villains that they face, the adventures that they've gone on. And yeah, I don't know how anyone after watching this film could say James Gunn's just humor because there were some scenes that were very hard to watch in this film. There were some dark moments in this film. The villain was very dark and was a psychopath in my opinion. But yeah, overall, I had a great time with this film. As far as the ranking of Guardians of the Galaxy movies go, I prefer this one over Volume 2 by a lot. I still like Volume 2, but I feel like Volume 2 is the weakest of the three personally. Not as good as the first film. I still think the first film is the best. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it's not that far down from the first film. Overall, I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 an A. I had a great time with this film. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a great conclusion to these characters. Um, do I know if there's going to be any future Guardians of the Galaxy movies? I'm not going to spoil anything. Like I said, I feel like the post-credit scenes felt more like epilogues. Um, I will say there's definitely some characters that this is definitely the end for them, and not just because of what the actors have said, some of the actors have said, as far as their future post Guardians Volume 3. But just like the way their character arcs have ended, like where they are at the end of this film, it's like, yeah, this is a fitting ending to this character or that character. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 an A. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's a great comic book movie. It feels like a long time since we've gotten that. Not just Marvel, but I feel like also with DC. It feels like the last great comic book movie we got was The Batman over a year ago. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what's your favorite of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies? Mine's is still the first one. And what's your favorite post Endgame movie? To me, I still would say Spider-Man No Way Home is my personal favorite. But again, that could change. You know, maybe like whenever I get a chance to go back and rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, maybe my opinion will change. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that loves MCU movies and loves Guardians of the Galaxy. Take care, everyone.